Hi guys, and welcome to Jonesy's worst / disappointing games of 2015. So I just want to point out at this stage that the games that are on this list are just basically games that I have played this year. There's certain bad games out there that I haven't had a chance to play. So for example, if I'd have played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, that would probably have made it onto this list, but I haven't, so I'm not going to put games on the list that I haven't actually played this year, so just bear that in mind. And also please do remember that these are my opinions. You know, people will have a lot of issues with some of the games that I put on here, no doubt, but the whole point of gaming is we all have had different opinions on whether a game is good or bad. So, you know, the games that are on this list are just based on my opinion, so don't shout me down for them. You know, you'll have your chance to say what your worst and disappointing games are at the end of this video in the comment section, so just please do bear that in mind. So anyway guys, without any further ado, let's go on to my worst / disappointing games of 2015.
Number 6, Fallout 4. Now, I know out of all my choices, this will be the one that people will probably question the most. And it's because of this game that I've called the video worst / disappointing. Because for me, Fallout 4 has without a doubt disappointed me more than any other game this year. But I felt a bit harsh calling it one of my worst games of the year because it's not a bad game. But for starters, the game just looks so old. I suppose for something that's been in development for like, 7 years, that's no surprise. But when this release was surrounded by such good looking games like, you know, there was Tomb Raider, Battlefront, Call of Duty, it just makes the graphics kind of stand out even more, really. For me, the mouth movement and the facial expressions just doesn't look good. It's all very clunky. Like even sort of the game mechanics, it is very clunky. Like the running just looks really stupid, and sometimes the way you can just like sort of ragdoll down a mountain or you just like slip off an edge, it just doesn't look great. And for me, the biggest problem with this game, it is a Bethesda game, so you guessed it, it's the bugs. And no, not the annoying roaches or the bloatfly bastards. It's the game breaking and totally unbelievable glitches in some cases. On 2 occasions I've encountered a glitch that's caused me to have to redo several things and go back on old saves. You know, enemies being invisible and not being able to shoot them to progress the game. You know, that is just really annoying. And like I just mentioned there, you know, the crazy ragdoll effects on like dead people and creatures and stuff, and it's just really, really bad. I mean, you can just search it on YouTube for, you know, Fallout 4 glitches, and it's just crazy, like what some of the people have been having. And then there's just like moments like this.
Minuteman? You mean Preston Garvey's? Any idea why they haven't been around so much lately? Okay now.
Yeah, for a while anyway. We can at least move someplace. Listen, when we first met,
I am glad you're here. And I hope you don't mind. Before the war.
What do you mean? Before what war? Are you saying...
I lived here over 200 years ago.
And I know that people are sort of saying, yeah, but you can look past that because you're getting so immersed in the game and everything. But for me, in an RPG, you know, you're wanting to get into it and feel immersed in a game like that. You know, it's so important. And, you know, for me, as a new player to Fallout, you know, there was so much hype about the game, and I got on the hype train about it since its big reveal at E3 and everything. I was wanting to be so immersed into the Wastelands. But these problems mixed with, you know, kind of the limited conversation wheel and everything, and the you know, the way you can progress your character and everything, it just means that I haven't been able to be immersed in it, and it's been so disappointing on that aspect. It's just something that I cannot get into. You know, added to this, like the storyline so far just isn't making me interested enough to want to go back to it all the time. It's very meh. For some people, they will love this part of it, but for me, they're just, you know, wandering around, hours of wandering around, just trying to find guns and ammo or items or, you know, just stuff that you need for certain things, materials and that. That bit bores me, to be honest, and yeah, I'm just struggling to get to grips with it, really. And it's annoying because it's certainly not a bad game, and it is definitely one that I will carry on with, and hopefully complete one day. but what a letdown Fallout 4 has been for me. Number 5, Guitar Hero Live. Now, Guitar Hero is a franchise that I've been playing ever since its launch in 2005, and having played all the games and had so much enjoyment out of them, you can imagine my excitement for the first release in 5 years with Guitar Hero Live. But unfortunately, that excitement was very much short-lived. The game itself is pretty good. It really is. I really like the updated controller. I think it's really great. It's just added something different to it, and as an old player used to the old controller, it's made it more difficult, and it's added that extra challenge to it, which is really great. I do kind of like the style that they're going with, playing in a live band in front of an actual real audience and everything. It's not perfect, the kind of things that they could have improved on. It's very over the top and cheesy, but in general I do like the way they've taken it. However, there are 2 major problems that has led me to putting this in my worst/disappointing games of 2015. Number 1 is the stupid restrictions in playing songs. In Guitar Hero Live, you have unlimited access to just 42 songs, which is so much lower than previous incarnations of the game. But then on Guitar Hero TV, where loads of songs are all stored, there's well over 100, 150, something like that. And they're adding new ones to that all the time, which is great. But you don't have constant access to these. You basically need these things that they're called the play points, or just called plays. And each time you play one of the songs, from the catalogue there, it takes one of those play points from you. So, if you haven't wanted to play some of the other songs on Guitar Hero TV that actually earns you the points, and you have none, then you can't play any song that you want, all the time. Which, why would you do that to such a great gaming franchise? Why would you do that? You're giving people all these great songs. It's no, you can't have access to these all the times. Well, you can have access if you want to do the second reason that this game is on this list, and you can buy them. Yes, that's right, microtransactions have creeped into this beloved series to seriously screw everyone over. As well as paying for points and credits, you can pay £3.99 to gain just 24 hours of access to all the songs on Guitar Hero TV. So that just gives you, full access to the full catalogue. But £3.99 for 24 hours of access is just, it just annoys me so much. I just don't get why they had such a good thing going with Guitar Hero. It's since, in the 5 years since the last release, I've seen the way other developers are going in, adding microtransactions to everything. And it's just they've got this game that was just full of freedom and being able to play exactly what you want. And then they're just taking that freedom away, and you just can't play the songs that you want to play. And I just find it so frustrating. And adding to that frustration, which is just, this is so cheeky, I hate this. You can't restart a song in this mode without losing a play point. So, say if you start playing a song, say, the Kids Are Alright by The Offspring, and say halfway through the phone goes, which leads you to fuck up and you have to pause it and everything. If you then go back to it, you can't just restart the song. You have to go out and do it again using up a play point. So you just waste your play points. You can't restart the songs, which is just ridiculous. And it's so annoying, because if you take this shitty system out, then we've got a pretty damn good game on our hands. But with this in, it just makes me want to ignore the game and avoid playing to the rules. It's been such a shame to have this on this list, but I just can't ignore it. Number 4, FIFA 16. FIFA and EA, the gift that keeps on giving. If you watch my channel regularly, then you will know my kind of love-hate relationship with this gaming franchise, and it goes back quite a bit. The main issue that I've had with this year's version, which has caused me to put it on this list, is basically the full price tag, and also has been the case for the past few years, the emphasis on FIFA Ultimate Team. So first of all, the price tag. All new releases usually have sort of £45 to £50 price tag on them. And, for like a brand new shiny looking game, for the likes of Fallout or Battlefront or Call of Duty or whatever, like a brand new game. Well, maybe not so much Call of Duty, because that kind of falls into the same thing. But like, a brand new release or a brand new IP or something, that's fine. We don't mind paying that. That's the way that the price of games is going. But when you're being asked to pay that amount on a game that has not really changed since the last release, or even the past 2 or 3 releases, then it's just getting a little bit cheeky in my opinion. For the past 3 years, FIFA has really not changed that dramatically. Yes, you can say that the graphics have been made like a little bit shinier, but that's to be expected with, the software and everything that they have to hand nowadays. And maybe, the technical side of the game has improved for, people that play FIFA all the time. But, to an average player, you don't really notice that too much. And, we actually finally have a women's team in the game. Yay, fantastic. But apart from that, FIFA 16 is essentially the same game as it was 2 or 3 years ago. It's just the same game. Yet we're still being made to pay £45+. And I just find it disgraceful, to be honest, to keep paying that same amount year after year for a game that just isn't really that different. And, everyone joked that the fact, you're paying £45 to basically have the, new roster of players and everything. And, it's true. And, moving on to the second point, my main issue with kind of EA is that they know exactly where all the money is going to come from. And they totally take advantage of that. And it's FIFA Ultimate Team, and they know that players who play that will throw money at them to get the new packs and everything day after day after day. And, for that reason, they seem to have forgotten about the rest of the game, and they just put all their eggs into one basket and just focus on FIFA Ultimate Team. And they've just forgotten players who don't care about that online mode. People like myself, I just like to play career mode and take teams from the bottom of the lowest league up to the top and everything. I'm not bothered about Ultimate Team, but EA seem to have forgotten that. Like for example, the Super Deluxe version of the game that is £79.99. The only extras that you get in that is linked to Ultimate Team. There's no perks for your average FIFA player. There's nothing there for people that don't play Ultimate Team. So, for me, until EA decide to move away from this and have a massive change around with a game that still has glitchy player effects, has very, very poor goalkeeping, and in many cases very unrealistic gameplay, then I simply will not be throwing any of my money at them in the near future. Perhaps more regular downloadable content or updates could be a way forward rather than full releases, but I very much highly doubt that EA is going to go down that route. So, FIFA 16, you fully deserve your place at number 4 on my worst games of 2015. Number 3, Farming Simulator 2015. This really is no surprise to anyone and would probably make it onto many people's worst games of the year, probably since its release. Farming Simulator is very simply a very poor game. From the graphics to the actual gameplay, it just fails on all levels, really. Physics just don't exist in this world of Farming Simulator, so if you're like me and you sort of like to explore or go off the beaten track with games and just try and have a bit of extra fun with things, then that's something that you really can't do in Farming Simulator. Bumping into things either leads to a sudden halt or leads to ghostly apparitions of a car or a person just driving or walking straight through you. There's no immersion at that level. The animation of cutting down a tree with a chainsaw is simply laughable. Your arms just keep on going way off screen as if they've been dislocated horribly or ripped off by something. And the amount of graphics clipping, things just clipping into things, it just gets so tedious so quickly. There's really not much to say about this franchise that hasn't already been said, so I'm keeping it pretty short on this one. But for me, the price tag attached to a game that for me is broken so badly, and it's just a complete bore fest. It's just wrong, charging someone £40 for something like this just shouldn't happen. I mean, if you have a lot of free time on your hands and can see past the embarrassing graphics and physics, then, I'm sure you can have a lot of fun with this game. Although I do feel like having fun with this game is quite an impossible task. Number 2, 3/4 Home. Now, this is quite a newcomer to the list in the case that I only added it about 2 days ago. 3/4 Home is a game, and I am using invisible quotation marks there, that was just £4 on the PlayStation Store that I thought, I'd give it a go. And I think I completed it in about 40 minutes, if that. And I honestly feel like I should be refunded my money. It is actually really very hard to describe this experience, as there is just so little to say about it. You get in a car and you drive a car by constantly holding down the R2 button. And whilst doing that, you have a conversation with your family. So you talk to your mother, your dad, and your brother on the phone whilst hurrying home in a storm. And that's pretty much it. That literally is the game. That's the game mechanics. That's the start. That's everything. That's all it is. It's basically just a conversation that goes back and forth, and at certain points you're given, options in the conversation where you can expand the story in the way that you want to. So, you're just given options of how to respond to things, which is great, but, you don't know how you want to expand this story because you don't have any background knowledge, you don't have any background information, you don't know how this person, kind of acts like in real life, who you're answering as. So it just makes it really pointless. And what else is pointless is I actually played it a second time round and I tried to go for different options, and it doesn't really change the story that much or the way that the conversation goes. There's not, nothing major changes. The ending of the story is a constant and can't be changed. And like I said, the tone and the topics of conversation are just, the limited to say the least. The idea of this, I really don't want to say game, the idea of this experience I think is a good one. Like, the art style in it is quite good, and they're definitely onto something, but my god, it just falls down on so many levels that I genuinely felt cheated out of £4 by the end of it. So that's how bad I felt it was. Had you been given more choices or options, or that the choices actually had a major factor in, the outcomes of the story and the conversation, and actually getting information out, then it might just have been worth the money. But alas, this is an experience, as I say, I refuse to call it a game, that I would beg you to stay away from if you don't want to waste 40 minutes of your life or hurt your finger from constantly holding down the R2 button. It's just stay away from it, please. Number 1. So, my worst game of 2015 out of everything else that I've played goes to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Yep, it really couldn't have been anything else than this bloody stupid, infuriating, frustrating, massive pile of Walking Simulator 2015 bollocks. Oh god. The reason I chose to play this game in the first place is that it got everyone that I kind of watched or read on the internet talking, and I'd heard how stunning it was, so I thought I'd give it a go. And you know what? People weren't wrong. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is without a doubt one of the most beautiful looking games that I've ever seen. And the sound and the music in it is pretty spectacular too. But that's the end of the good points, and that is the end of me calling this a game, because it is not a game, it's an experience. So, where to begin? I think if this had have been called Walking Simulator 2015, then I may have been on board with the idea, because you literally have to walk everywhere at a snail's pace with no option of running or speeding up. It's like those dreams you have where you just want to run so fast as you can away from the nightmare, but your legs just don't react, and you are stuck in that nightmare. God, you're so stuck in that nightmare. The whole point of this experience is to wander around this empty village that is set in Shropshire and basically work out what has happened to everyone in it, although the title of the experience suggests what it is, whilst learning about the people and the residents of the village and what has been going on to them leading up to this event, as it's called. And to do this, you have an orb of light to follow. Now, this little git thinks that it's funny to just take you wherever the hell it wants, including making you go back on yourself several times, and I mean it just literally goes wherever it wants. And my god, guys, if you do play this game, my thoughts are with you if you ever lose this little shiny bastard, because once that happens, I'm afraid you're lost for all eternity. This happened to me. I was nearly at the end of the game. I lost where the orb had gone, and I assumed, I suppose that was silly because it just makes an ass out of you and me, that I had to go back to the start of the game and back to the observatory. When really all I had to do was just turn round the corner because the orb was hiding and I had no idea where he was. So yeah, I wasted like 30 minutes walking back to the start of the game. All because the little orb just couldn't stay with me. And as if it wasn't hard enough keeping up with Orby go wherever the fuck I want, you have to try and keep up with the actual story. So as you walk around, lighted silhouettes of the residents basically sort of just appear mid-conversation. But these conversations are not in any order at all. It basically seems to be spread across what seems to be like maybe a year in period. So whenever you just go around, any time within this period, these conversations just appear, but it just goes back and forth with time. So unless you're a master at timelines, then it is almost impossible to guess what is going on and when everything is happening. And it's because of this that you actually pretty much learn the whole point of the story and basically sort of the ending at the very beginning. Because although it is an experience where kind of the ending or the meaning of the story is open to interpretation, you're basically essentially told what happens before you've even made it through the first part of the map, which I just found stupid. Various people claim that the main love of this experience is learning about the lives of the residents of this Shropshire village and seeing how those characters have progressed or gotten themselves in certain situations. But for me, I have to wholly disagree with this for a few reasons. Number one, because of the point I've already stated about everything being out of order, you will see a character sort of maybe at the end of their progression before you learn anything else about them. And it's just all mixed up, so you see them at various points in this, so you can't really see any progression. And, you know, it just gave me no love for these characters. I didn't really care or want to know what was going on with them. And secondly, I just found the dialogue so lazy. I mean, apparently the actors that are all in this are all like sort of the cream of the crop of British English radio, so, you know, people from like The Archers and all stuff like that. But sometimes I found that, you know, the written dialogue, the way it was written was lazy, and the way that it was spoken just seemed forced a lot of the time. I just didn't feel like there were real characters. And the amount of times people's names were repeated was just ridiculous. Like, oh, Stephen, what are we going to do? I don't know, Mary. We seem to be trapped walking at this speed forever. Oh, I know, Stephen. Surely there's someone out there who can help us, Stephen. I do hope so, Mary, because this flying orb is starting to annoy me, Mary. I know who the names. I know what the names are. Stop repeating them. So, you've gone through about 4 of the most frustrating, infuriating hours of your life, wandering through this Shropshire countryside and being led astray by a shiny tit, but you make it to the end, and you think, finally, it might actually be slightly worth it once I get to the end of this and I'll find out this mystery that needs to be resolved and that's been running through the story, and there might be this massive big reveal. All I'm going to say is, don't get your hopes up. I've never come across a more piss-poor or lazy ending to something in my life, so it led me to actually shout at my TV screen at 1 AM, what the fuck was that? And that is pretty much my 5-word summary of this whole experience. I still refuse to call this a game, because it just fails as a game at so many levels. You have no involvement, there's no challenge, there's no rewards, it just isn't a game, it is an experience. And quite frankly, it's one of the worst experiences I've encountered in a very long time.
So there we have it, guys. Those are my worst / disappointing games of 2015. I hope you enjoyed that. And as I said at the start, please do leave your suggestions, you know, for what you feel have been your worst games or most disappointing games of the year so far. You can do that down in the comments section below, or at my Twitter at ChrisJonesLUFC. It'd be really interesting to see if anyone, you know, agrees with some of the things that I put on this list, and just to see your thoughts on gaming this year, and, you know, maybe have a few people have a few discussions about it all. It always makes it worthwhile seeing stuff like that. So that's the worst games out of the way, so please do make sure you tune in tomorrow, where I will be going through my best games of 2015. So until then, guys, thank you very much for watching, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all very soon.